With the looming insolvency of the Medicare Trust Fund in 2027 and the Social Security Trust Fund in 2032, Americans are asking what lengths the federal government will have to go to keep these programs solvent. Some have suggested that by taxing the rich, our country can bridge its vast fiscal shortfalls. But this recommendation is usually made without a full understanding of precisely how big our fiscal shortfall is over the next 75 years. According to Dr. Larry Kotlikoff out of Boston University, our country has a fiscal gap of $239 trillion. It's even higher if you go out beyond 75 years. What exactly does this mean? It means we would have to have $239 trillion sitting in a bank account today, earning Treasury rates, to deliver on everything that we promised for Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid that we can't afford to deliver. That means that the federal government is understating the national debt by a little over $200 trillion. So, given this reality, could the federal government raise taxes exclusively on the rich in order to fix the problem? Let me put this into perspective for you. The cumulative net worth of our nation's 735 billionaires is about $4.5 trillion. As a point of comparison, our nation's budget for fiscal year 2023 is $5.8 trillion. That means if the IRS confiscated 100% of the net worth of our nation's 735 billionaires, it would only be enough to run the federal government for a little over 9 months. In other words, it's not realistic to suppose that the federal government can exclusively target the rich in order to tax their way out of their problems. The math just doesn't add up. Now, you may be saying, by fixating on the billionaires, we're missing out on a whole swath of millionaires and others who make hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, who the government currently classifies as rich. Well, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget did a study where they put this idea to the test. They simply asked the question, how high would tax rates have to go on any dollar made above and beyond $400,000 to balance the budget in perpetuity? When I say balance the budget, I mean have enough money to pay for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and interest on the national debt forever. The answer? 103%. Well, they realized this wasn't feasible because nobody works for free, so they lowered that number down to $250,000. In other words, how high would taxes have to go on every dollar earned above and beyond $250,000 to balance the federal budget in perpetuity? The answer? 90%. So this didn't strike them as realistic either. They then lowered the threshold to $150,000. The answer? 80%. That didn't strike them as feasible either. So they finally asked, how high would tax rates have to go on taxpayers across the board to bridge our country's long-term fiscal shortfalls? The answer, 49%. Interestingly enough, this is not far off from former Comptroller General of the federal government David Walker's prediction in his best-selling book, Come Back America. According to his calculations, our country would have to raise tax rates to an effective tax of 45% on all taxpayers by the year 2030 to pay for everything our country's promised but can't currently afford to pay. So what's the bottom line here, folks? If we hope to ensure our country's fiscal viability over the next 75 years and beyond, it isn't realistic to think that we can soak the rich to solve the problem. According to study after study, the federal government will have to broaden the tax base such that sooner or later, every American will fall under the scope of the IRS's radar. This is particularly germane to the millions of middle-class Americans who have a majority stake in the nearly $35 trillion of tax-deferred retirement plans across the country. If your effective tax rate rises to 45% within the next 10 years, how much of your hard-earned retirement savings will you really get to keep? Now more than ever, it's critical that you evaluate the possibility of executing a Roth conversion on your tax-deferred 401ks and IRAs. Pay taxes on those assets at historically low rates so that by the time tax rates go up for good, you have done all the heavy lifting and can then take those assets out 100% tax-free. The key here is to convert your money slowly enough that you don't rise into a tax bracket that gives you heartburn, but quickly enough that you get all the converting done before tax rates go up for good. In short, there is a perfect amount of money for you to be shifting to your Roth IRA each and every year. In summary, the rich actually don't have enough money to solve our country's fiscal challenges. The IRS understands the math behind this reality, which is why they're prepared to broaden the tax base so that nearly every American can help shoulder the burden of our unfunded entitlement obligations over time. While this is an unavoidable reality, you are still in control of your destiny. We're at historically low tax rates through 2025, and most experts don't see tax rates going up dramatically before 2030. That means you have about 8 years to execute your tax-free retirement strategy before tax rates go up for good. Folks, in the next 10 years, I'm looking to put 100,000 Americans on the road road to the 0% tax bracket, if you'd like some help getting on the road to a tax-free retirement, be sure to check out my tax-free toolkit. You can download it for free at taxfreetoolkit.com. If you're a financial professional and want to learn how to become a certified Power Zero advisor, head over to powerzero.com and opt into my free 3-part video series. By the way, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them into the comment section below. I respond to every single one of them personally. And don't forget to click like, subscribe, and the bell so you never miss a video. This is David McKnight. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.